Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome back to EDE7473 Entrepreneurship in Education. So today we would like to discuss chapter number 3, which is business opportunities, identification, evaluation and selection. Alright, at the end of the session, students should be able to, number one, identify the process of business opportunities, and number two, evaluate and select business opportunities as part. These are the learning objectives of this chapter. Alright, so as for introduction, there are two situations in which a business opportunity can exist in the market. Number one is the product itself is already available in the market, but it does not fulfill fully the demands and preferences of the customers. So the reason because of the quality, low quality of product, poor performance, perhaps not user friendly, the price is not reasonable, difficult to get the product, and perhaps also unimpressive features of the product. So this is number one, situation number one, which the product is already available but it does not fulfill the demands of the customers. Number two, a situation where the customers require a product that can help to solve their problems. For example, can speed up the process of certain things. So which is a new product. So there are two situations, and every business starts with an opportunity that can be identified or taken advantage of within the current environment. So meaning that we look problems, we look something, everything that we look is actually an opportunity for us to identify and take advantage of that opportunity. Yeah, for example, like Pro 2, so we have tire shop, we have car accessories, we have service centers, and all these are related to automotive industry. Okay, the next one, the existence of a new opportunity to offer a product or service in a particular market comes about from changes in environment. So we have to look into the environment of the surrounding areas, yeah, which the environment factors can be in terms of economy, social and culture, political and legal aspects, technology, and so on. So that environment factors will actually affect the entrepreneurship or business of someone. So let us look into the process of identifying, evaluating, and selecting. So for example, look at the number one here, food, clothing, education, help. It can be any type of business. So we have to, step number one, identify the needs and wants of customers. So this can be divided into product and also into service. Yeah. So step number two, scanning the environment and evaluating of self and also the community. So the environment can be population, structure, income, taste, yeah, and import and export, for example, local resource and technology, industrial linkages, development projects by the public and private sectors, media and internet, social problems, new government ruling, and so on. So this is we call it factors that involve in environment. One step is about the entrepreneur, he or herself, which is what experience or skill and what kind of previous knowledge that that person has, financial commitment, their interests, as well as their network. The community is the values, norms, and perception also need to be considered for us to scan. So here we have three main things to scan, which is environment, oneself, as well as community. So after we have identified the needs and wants of customers in terms of product and service, so we have scanned the environment, the oneself experience and community. So we move on to step number 3. Step number 3 here, okay, is screening of business opportunities in terms of legal aspect, monopolistic power, level of competition, yeah, whether it's very stiff, very medium, moderate, as well as perhaps very low, yeah, and capital requirement, how much money you want to put in your business, and also certain risks need to be considered. Number 4, after we have screened the business opportunities, we move on to selecting a business opportunity and preparing a business plan. So in terms of administrative organization plan, marketing plan, how you want to how do you want to market your product, and production plan, how many numbers of products you want to produce, financial plan, what is your capital, what is your cash flow, and so on, as well as the implementation of your service or your product. So these are the process that step by step that we need to look into that, and we should not be rushing to the business without thinking of the process of identifying, evaluating, and selecting of business. Okay, step number 1 here, the one that we explained in step number 1, identifying the needs and wants of customers. We look into details. What is actually need? Need is basic in life, which are the three main things, which are food, clothing, and shelter. This is, everyone should have this very basic need. Yeah, in terms of you have to eat. You know, you must have something to wear, as well as you have a place as your shelter. Yeah. Number 2 is wants. Want is different with the needs. Yeah, wants is craving for something that is better than basic needs. That means you want more than what you should have. Yeah, what we should have is at least 3 items: food, clothing, and shelter. Whereby for wants is more beyond that. So human wants are shaped by one's lifestyle. So the ones that we have, yeah, is influenced by our own lifestyle, level of education, yeah, and purchasing power, as well as your personality. Yeah, whether you want to follow people, you know, whether you want to be a part of other people, for example, yeah, with all the social media influence and so on. And of course, human needs and wants are unlimited and all kinds of things. Yeah, it's not it has no limit. Yeah, and as society has more affluent, yeah, more certificated, more modern, therefore there will be more needs and wants to be fulfilled. Yeah, that will translate. This will help the more needs and the wants that need to be fulfilled translate into more business opportunities. Yeah. So these are very basic things that we entrepreneurs should be able to understand what we mean by opportunities. Okay, the next one, the various needs and wants can be categorized into products and services. Yeah, products can be washing machine, for example. You know, services can be tuition center, preschool education center, for example, or perhaps medicure, pedicure. These are all the services that, you know, the needs we need to fulfill the needs and wants of potential customers. So here we also look into how we differentiate between service and product. Product is something that possesses a physical form, you can see, you can touch, that is required to fulfill human wants directly or indirectly. These are the things that you can see, you can use it, you know, you can touch it, you know, you can feel it. So this we call it a product, a physical product. Number 2, a service that it does not possess a physical form, but it has the ability to fulfill a customer wants. For example, if parents work, yeah, parents need someone to look after their children. So these are we call it a service, yeah, to take care of the children. That will be fulfill a customer's wants. Step number 2 is environmental scanning and evaluation of self and the community. So we have to scan the environment first, which is an idea that can be converted into a business opportunity. There are two approaches. One is we call it macro, and the other one we call it micro. So for example, in agriculture sector, there are 4 types of macro, which is forestry, fishing, plantation, and poultry. So we detail down, for example, forestry, we have veneer plywood, logging, furniture, swan timber. In terms of fishing, we may have equipment for fishing, deep sea fishing, fishing processing, wholesale distribution of the fish, and so on. As for plantation, perhaps clearing plantation, planting, processing, wholesale suppliers. And for poultry, perhaps poultry farming, processing, wholesales and suppliers. So from the micro, we narrow down to micro. All right, the next one is the structure of the population, income, and taste. So we need to scan all this, yeah. Who are the people live in that particular area, for example, what the purchasing power they have, what are their income, and are they a affluent society or not. All these are very important for us to understand the population, income, and taste. So a change in the composition of the population, an increase in disposable income, and change in consumer preference all can create business opportunities. Yeah, so you look into the area. For example, you want to open up again a TASCA, for example, daycare center of preschool education. So you have to look at who are the people live in the area, and how much, what the average of the income, what are the occupation, yeah, and what are their preference. Yeah, so that is very important for us to create our business opportunities. So what we can see that for example, the population leads to business opportunity, assuming the composition of teenager population is higher than the children or elderly. This will create more business opportunities related to wants and needs of teenagers. So where there are so many teenagers in the area as compared to children and elderly, so perhaps we can consider that the ones are more related to teenagers. So the next one, if an increase of disposable income leads to higher purchasing power and customer affordability. For example, the effect of an increase of disposable income increase the demand of passengers cars and also other related business opportunities. Yeah, so as I mentioned, if the area is very affluent society, so they have also the increase in disposable income, so that will also increase in certain demand of product. Yeah. So changes taste in taste of customers. For example, when fast food is well accepted, the effect is an increase in the fast food industry because people perhaps work, they don't have so much time to cook, and you want to have a quick bite or quick lunch or dinner. Yeah, these are also changes in taste of customers. The next one is study of import and export data. This one basically, if you want to export your product, for example, in the future, perhaps you have to look into that. Yeah, what kind of product or service have been exporting so far, and what are the regulations, what are the legal aspect that you have to look into that. Whether there's any potential market in either in locally or internationally. And also the same goes for policies of import, substitution industries, and export promotion that can be seen as opportunities. The next one is study on local resources and technological breakthrough, which there are abundance of local resources which are still untapped, and they may have potential to be developed as investment opportunities. So new technologies also can develop these local resources, open up opportunities. Yeah, and example, the success of handicraft and agriculture related industries. And we also have here industrial linkages, which is you can see from the picture here. We have backward linkages and we have forward linkages, linkage. So in between here, for example, we have a product, the second national car project, which is Perodua. So backward linkages is before we produce the car. Of course, we have component industry. Those suppliers, we provide certain spare parts, transportation, restaurant or canteen, cleaning services, supplier of equipment and office supplies. In order for them to run the second national car project, they must have a backward linkage. After Perodua has produced the car, so there will be a forward linkage opportunity as well. For example, car distribution, which the ready car would be distributed to all over Malaysia or overseas, for example, and service workshop after 1,000 kilometer, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 kilometer. So we need a service for the workshop, for the car. And supply of spare part, any spare part damage or whatever, of course we need a spare part. And car rental service, the car can become also a service for the car rental, limousine service, taxis company, and so on. So you can see the backward linkage and also the forward linkage that will lead the interaction from the same sector or different sector. The next one is development projects by the public and also private sectors. There are various economic development programs which have been initiated by the government, which have opened up business opportunities. For example, the North-South Highway, KLIA, Kuala Lumpur International Airport, Proton Factory in Tanjung Malin. All this will lead to the new township and also industrial sites. Okay, the next one is searching for business opportunities through local, foreign, or the internet. So entrepreneurs can identify business opportunities in various fields by reading local or foreign newspapers. Now we have social media, so you can read through online everything. So that will which the local newspaper, for example, advertise tenders or bids as part of the opportunities by both the public, private sectors for entrepreneurs to participate. The next one, study of local social problems, which the problems you translate into business opportunities. For example, security, childcare, loafing, drug addiction, and etc. So by having looking at the social problems, for example, the break-ins leads to the growth of the grill business, installation of alarm, sensors, and security system. Even you hire a security guard to take care of your residential area. So these are actually the problems, the social problems that will lead to business opportunities. The next one is new government policies and regulation also will have influence, which is rules and regulations enforced by the government may lead to business opportunities. For example, the emission smoke control, the speed trap, black box, installation of the third brake light, etc. When the government has implemented policy and regulation, so we need to have some changes that will impact to the society, and this will become opportunities for entrepreneurs. All right, now we move on. After we have scanned the business, the environment factors, now we evaluate our self-evaluation, which is here we have the experience, knowledge and skill, as well as interest. So experience normally is very of course is very important, that suit to our any in business that we want to involve, of course, that we suit to our experience, especially that related to our former career when we work in the company and so on. The knowledge and skill, of course, we need to study. We need to go to university, for example, to college to get some knowledge. And the skills is actually that what we work previously, that will very important to do the business. And interest, of course, that we also have related to your entrepreneur's interest. Interest can give more confidence that because you know that that is your niche market, and you have confidence and also a sense of responsibility to the business to be developed. Besides that, also we need to evaluate your financial situation, which this is an important factor in determining to proceed a business or not. Yeah, so adequate source of fund, for example, in terms of assets, in terms of cash, that will determine the type and also the size of investment. So even though there are alternative source of funds, for example, loans from the bank, okay, but part of the project, the part of the business might also come from the entrepreneur. Networking, no doubt, is very, very important, which you may have difficulty in developing your business if the networking is limited. So you should be able to know more people so that will enhance your networking. So a contractor, for example, they need to know people including politicians, bank and insurance officers, all this, because to expedite the process of getting a contract or project. Besides that, also in terms of community, we need to learn, we need to understand what are the values and norms which are being practiced by one community. Yeah, so that refer to what is perceived as useful and beneficial to community. It's important to ensure that a potential business does not go against the values of norms or tradition of the local community. Yeah, for example, when there is a community of Bumiputra, who most of them or all of them are Muslims, for example, to open up a pub there, or so it's not suitable, then we should not do kind of business in that particular, because it's against the norms of the local community. Alright, step number 3, screening of business opportunities from the legal aspect. Yeah, which what we have to know what is legal, what is not legal. The implication of illegal business, it cannot be registered, for example. Yeah, if you want to take care, you want to open up a daycare center, for example, you must know that it is should be done legally. You have to register accordingly, and then you are qualified to apply for a loan. If it's illegal, then you can be charged in the court. Alright, monopolistic power and level of competition, of course, you have to look into that. Select of business which is not monopolized by anybody, so it will cause problem and sabotage and the difficulty of penetrating control market. So you make sure that that business is not done by one particular person, which is not monopolized by that particular person. Otherwise, you may have sabotage and so on. So need to consider the level of competition as well. So before that, you have to look around, who are your competitors, and you decide the type of business need to be developed based on the level of competition. So the next one is best not to be involved in an overcrowded business, which the competition is very stiff. Yeah, unless the ability to secure cheap raw materials or perhaps cheap rental, and easy to access to manpower, as well as a unique production formula. Okay, the next one is capital requirement. Capital requirement to finance is required. It's very important to finance investment on fixed asset, such as land, building, machine and equipment, as well as your working capital. The funding of the business can be done with the use of the entrepreneur's own money. So we have, of course, you save your money when you work, you know, for your future, for example, to open up your own business, and also from external resources like banks, finance companies, and cooperative. So the business must be appropriated to the financial resources available to ensure the entrepreneur does not face financial problems after the operation has started. Okay, the next one will be risk. Identify the risk to be encountered and consider the success and failure percentage. So earlier part in chapter number 2, we discussed about calculated risk. Yeah, something that you need to measure the risk before you venture into business. So here we have three factors that will influence or affect the level of risk, which is number one is penetration of particular business field, which is what kind of business that you're going to penetrate. So it's also a part of the factors. Number two, the size of capital, how much investment you want to put for your business, and also how much margin. Number three, the profit margin. Also, that will depend on the level of risk. Okay, for example here, we have a business choice A, B, and C, and we have entry level, which is easy to penetrate. Number two, perhaps is medium, and number three is very difficult. So level of risk here, you can see that, you know, when you penetrate the market easily, so the level of course is low. When the entry is medium, the level of risk is low, and when it's difficult, the level of risk, of course, is high. So based on expected returns, the low level of risk will have low returns. Medium also will get a medium returns, and high level of risk will have expected returns high. So example, the easy entry is a food stall. Example for the medium entry is mini market, and the difficult if perhaps is public transport. So this is very important to decide which kind of entry and the level of risk as well. Alright. In general, there are two types of risks. Yeah, which is number one is business risk, and number two is financial risk. Business risk can be classified into three categories, which the risk that cannot be transferred to another party. That means you know that you cannot put the burden of the risk to other party. Number one. Number two is somewhat can be controlled by entrepreneur. However, cannot fully control the situation involving market expansion, labor turnover, product quality, and machine breakdown. So somehow rather it can be still under control. Number three, risk that cannot be controlled. So like economic downturn, these are external factors. Yeah. Now we have a COVID-19 also. That is under risk that cannot be controlled. Natural disasters and so on. So these are actually risk cannot be controlled. So I'm so sorry. For number one here, risk that can be transferred to another party, for example, insurance company. Yeah, for example, insurance company will cover in terms of hospitalization that will be transferred to another party. So in general, risk that can be transferred, risk somehow rather can be controlled, and risk that cannot be controlled at all by entrepreneur. Okay, look into financial risk, which we have liquidity level, loans, credit, as well as foreign exchange. So we go to detail here. Liquidity, if the liquidity level is low, of course, the business will face off settling short-term debts. Yeah, for example, credit facilities from suppliers and overdraft facilities from banks. Liquidity level is too high, in this case suggest the facility of low profit due to lack of stock, not many stocks there, and too much cash in hand. So that will be very low, very high liquidity. Okay, loans, entrepreneur must be willing to service the loan if plans to borrow money. If you want to borrow money from the bank, of course you must be able, you should be effort to service the loan. So although profit is always volatile, the total payback is fixed. You make sure that even though your profit margin is up and down every month, but every month you must pay the loan, because that is fixed, principal and also plus interest. The next one is credit, which if entrepreneur give credit facilities to customers, for example, they pay after 30 days of the invoice date, so you must know that you will face a risk of getting back your money. So if the credit amount is not recovered, then it can be turned as a bad debt, or as an expense. Foreign exchange, when you import or export, of course, there's some up and down volatility of the exchange rates, so that we know that exchange rate is fluctuates, US dollar against Malaysia, for example, yen against Malaysia. So it's depend on the political situations and so on, economic situation of that particular country will impact on the foreign exchange. Alright, I think that's all for chapter number 3, which we discuss about business opportunities, identification, evaluation, and selection. So I hope you have understood the whole process of business opportunities in this chapter. With this, I thank everyone for listening to my lectures. Thank you very much.